What's up, guys? Welcome to Fitter Food Radio. This is episode 193. Can you believe it, Keris?
No.
We are flying through these bad boys, but I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Are you?
Well, I don't know. The setup bit for me.
That was a bit. Oh no, I don't know. I'm not
No,
really.
I love the podcast. I just wish we had a studio, like the setup. If anyone knew that the previous 20 minutes of realizing that like your phone is on half battery, your laptop's on half battery, so you need to get rid
Yeah,
of chargers.
it was a bit manic.
And then it's like the setup in terms of where's the sun now, where do we need to be? And
Well,
it literally
especially
takes like 20 minutes to set up, doesn't it?
yeah,
Then we should just do like 20.
probably a bit of an exaggeration,
No, it wasn't.
but it was a faff. I'll give you that. Especially now we got this new setup. We're trying to be a bit more profesh, you see. So we got like a stand for the laptop, recording on there, and then a stand for the phone, recording on there for social medias and that. But yeah, it's all a bit chaotic, isn't it?
Yes.
We have like podcast envy when we see, the big dogs that have got their like proper studio and
That'd be
these lovely little
amazing,
plants in the background. Don't get me wrong. I mean, if you could see what we see right now, it's pretty stunning. I don't know if you can hear it actually. Like we've got a load of palm trees next to us, and you can just hear the noise the palm trees make when the wind blows. It's like therapy, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's lovely. It's our favorite thing is just come and lie when we're like a bit buzzed or stressed. We come sit outside, don't we? Close our eyes and go just listen to that noise. Or there's some trees just at the bottom of the garden that I watch, just like swaying in the wind. But I have to say, because someone said the other day we were on a Zoom call with friends, and they were like, "You have a like fake Zoom background now," but I always feel I need to just emphasize, like, we're still stressed, we still have problems. It's like it's amazing, but like,
it's like life is still a little bit shit.
yeah.
It's not all rainbows and butterflies.
To be fair, if I hadn't been here in the last week, I don't know how I would have coped. It has been an absolute godsend.
Yeah, you've been poorly, haven't you?
Yeah, I got COVID again, and just
self-diagnosed. Dr. Marsden. Hey.
Only yeah, but mine's pretty obvious because I always get periodermatitis.
To be fair, yeah, all your symptoms were the exact same as what you got last
time. Vesicular on my back, and this time it spread across my chest, and then my nose went all stuffy. And I said to you, I was like, kept listing the symptoms, going, "Oh, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening," and they were very visible symptoms. I wasn't making them up. And you went, "Oh yeah, you can see it spread. Your rash is spread." And then I was like, the fourth day, I think I woke up and my stomach was just on fire, just pure gastritis. And it's the worst case I've ever had. It lasted well over a week. And so the gastritis diet, if you have ever done it, is basically broth, very slow cooked chicken, yogurt, like whatever you can basically tolerate. It's hardly anything. It's miserable. You feel sick. And
I did feel bad as well because my mum's been here and me and my mum have just been
eating ice cream,
indulging as you do, because
burgers, chips.
Yeah. So yeah, there was a bit of guilt there.
And I used to be, when this all first happened 5 years ago, I used to be really strong at going, I'll go out and I'll just have a chamomile tea. Now I just go, no, you can all sod off. I ain't coming. No way.
Yeah, I'm staying here.
But to be fair, I felt that ill. I couldn't have smelt the food. Like
no.
It wasn't.
No, you were bad. You were bad, I must say. And it's funny because like I know we have these jokes about, like man flu and all of that, but I think you and I are quite similar in that where there's no happy medium with us. Like we're either okay or really knocked out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we get hit hard. You know what I mean? It's
we really just got a cold that we're knocking around with.
Yeah.
And it felt quite viral. Like, as in I did, it goes to your bones. I'm like, I actually think I just need to go and lie down. And that's not me. And I kept trying to get up and do stuff. And then I was exhausted by just a bit of pottering. So the difference for us is like, you have to take on all the work. And I find that really hard. As in, like, we run a business together. And so I'm like, I'm kind of trying to lie on a sunbed because I'm here. I'm like, might as well just lie on a sunbed. And then I'm going, like, looking at you working, and you work such long hours. I felt terrible.
I can bear the strain.
Good.
I've got you because I'm a soldier.
I'm feeling a bit rough. I'm going back to the sunbed.
What we chat about today?
We were going to chat about aging, men versus women.
Yeah.
Who's got it worse?
Oh God, I know who's got it worse.
Go on.
The blokes, because we don't hear the end of it about how bad you women have got it. Oh, I'm only joking. A little bit joking.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking. I am joking. Who has got it worse?
I think, well, Well, they now talk about andropause, don't they? So that you blokes are going through andropause. I don't, we're only joking about comparing. I think,
as I say, we don't.
The journey is the journey at the end of the day, and it can just be really difficult, I think, for a lot of people. But we wanted to talk about some of the key things that are happening to you biologically as you age, which means that you should shift priorities when it comes to your nutrition, your health. But I think some people have got the message and like gone full throttle with it. And then it's always interesting how some people, it's just not on their radar in terms of like, you probably from the age of 30 onwards, definitely by 40, have to start making changes to your nutrition and have to start thinking about your nutritional needs. And if you're not doing some form of structured exercise, and also if you're doing too much structured exercise, you're going to have to start thinking about like getting that right balance, because injuries are going to start to kick in. And, like basically from, I think some people say 30, but it's definitely going to be happening towards 40. We're losing muscle really quickly. It's called sarcopenia, and this is happening with age to everyone.
Are we losing muscle really quickly?
Oh, sorry, no, we're losing muscle. You're right. Correct.
Yeah.
We're losing muscle. But as we get towards kind of 40, 50, we also then may start to experience anabolic resistance, which is an inability to build muscle. And there are loads of workarounds for that, like with lifestyle, basically. So nutrition, exercise, and even supplements. But the reason we thought we'd do this conversation is even you, because you're about to hit 40 next year.
God damn. How did that happen?
Mr. Greybeard.
I know. Can't see it in this light, but they're there. I don't mind though.
Even Hamish aging.
Proper greybeard.
Yeah, he's the one aging the most, isn't he?
Bless him.
Actually, yeah, I had a conversation with the vet, slight detour here. It's a very sad conversation because he's got some markers that we have to investigate that don't look so good.
Don't talk about them.
I'm not going to.
Because you'll set me off.
I'm not going to. But one of the things they look at is like telomere length, which is again a marker of aging, and they're using it to look at basically kind of cancer markers and stuff like that. Anyway, it was just interesting they're doing it with dogs. Just going back to the aging side of things. So I think that lost train of thought completely. Shouldn't have detoured into that, should I?
Yeah, well, it's your own fault. It serves you right.
Sorry.
Well, whilst you're having a little think about what direction you were going in, I think it'd be, I've got a filler, right? Okay. The filler is that
you were 40, I've remembered it. I'll just finish the sentence.
Okay, go on.
That you're now getting a lot of, because you know a lot of people your age and you've got clients your age and you've taught a lot of classes of people. A lot of people are coming to you now and asking you about things like testosterone therapy and let's say alternative methods of building muscle. And what's really interesting is you said just one look at how they're training and how they're eating, and there are so many things they could be doing to build muscle very naturally and safely. And it doesn't make sense to go and investigate something with risks until you've done everything possible that you think. And I'm not writing off something like testosterone replacement therapy. For some people, it's going to be helpful. The rest of stuff I'm not going to comment on. But I think, is it, I don't know, I'm going to ask you, is it a lack of awareness about, kind of protein requirements, muscle protein synthesis? What do you need to build muscle, to maintain muscle? With the training side, I think as we age, there's quite a big movement towards like almost some groups overtraining and cardio and intensity to almost get that. You want a bit of zhuzh in your life, don't you? And actually what most people start to feel is worse, and look worse and get injured and are losing muscle and even gaining weight because they're actually overtraining and holding on to water and things like that. That's kind of a pattern that we've seen, isn't it?
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, and it's interesting because what Keris is referring to actually is a friend of mine reached out to me and just wanted to like have a little chat around like training and stuff, and basically asked me about like peptides, and essentially the way the questions were being asked was almost like, you must be taking something like that because you're, because of your build, physique, and this, that, and the other. So when I replied and said, I don't know, they were like, what do you think about X, Y, and Z? And honestly, like when I say like I'm completely ignorant to, performance enhancing drugs, peptides, TRT, all of that, I am so ignorant to it because first and foremost, I don't do it. I never have done. I've not even looked into it. And some people might think, yeah, whatever, Matt. And I might have mentioned this before, but he was shocked when I was like, I can't help you. Like, I don't know anything about these things. And he always got a bit awkward because he was, oh, but yeah, but I thought like, and I was like, no, like, but there's a few things here, right? Like, first of all, I want to say this because Keris and I were chatting about it the other day, right? If someone's made up their mind about whether you're on steroids or whatever else, whatever you say, chances are 99% of the time it's not going to change their opinion because they've made up their mind for whatever reason. They've got their take on what someone on steroids looks like, what someone who's not on steroids look like.
Yeah.
And that's that.
I always feel for you in that sense, because it must be like going into an exam, working really, really hard for it, like revising for most of your life for this exam, and then knowing everyone else is under the table cheating, and yet you all come out with the same results, but you put the work. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. I like that. It sort of feels like that for you, like you're constantly accused of cheating, and you didn't ever cheat. And the reason being, you started from the beginning, and you openly said, I think we've done a podcast on this, I can't remember the episode, but you openly said the reason I didn't do it, any of it, was I didn't want to lose my hair. So like at the start, when you were curious or whatever, and you were just like, I just didn't want my hair to fall out.
That was more like when someone was talking about like testosterone supplementation.
Yeah.
And this is years ago, mate. Like I'm talking in my late teens when the last thing I needed in my late teens was testosterone, right? I was like full of the stuff. But I was that was the time I was very much into like my bodybuilding, and and in the gym I was in, like there was a lot of like roid heads, if you will, you know, like massive guys, and you know that was the kind of talk that went round. And but one of the guys was like, oh yeah, but you know, like you could go bald and this, that, and the other. And I was like, blimey, if there was even a little part of me that wanted to think about doing anything like that, I was like, okay, I ain't going bald, hell no. Remember lose my train of thought now.
Sorry.
Oh yeah, so
sorry.
But the other thing is like we actually went down this road. Like once we kind of established that I couldn't help him in that area because you know I've got no experience with it whatsoever. We then started to like look at, you know, like what was his training like, what was his nutrition like, and what was interesting, he kept pushing on the age thing. And this friend of mine's like early 40s, and he was like, yeah, but you know, but the thing is like, you know, like you're a lot younger than me. I was like, mate, I'm 3 years behind you. Like, and again, that was another thing. It was like, what? I had no idea. I thought you was quite a bit younger. I was like, first of all, thank you very much. But secondly, like, bear in mind that even though, I'm 39 next week, but I've been training a long time, and people forget that. So like where I'm at now is the result of decades of graft. You know what I mean? I didn't just start training a couple of years ago or so. So first of all, there's that thing, right? It's like people like see where I'm at now, and they don't see the 20 odd years of training that have gone into up until this point. But the other thing, and this applies to men and women, is, and I think this is media. I think this is just the road we've been led down is almost like this fixation on, oh, you know, once you hit this age, things are just really, really difficult. Once you hit this age, it's nearly impossible to build muscle and this, that, and the other. You can very much so build muscle in your 40s, in your 50s. Is it harder? Fuck yeah. But it's not impossible. And a lot of people that start looking at things like, oh, it's too late for me now. You know, I wish I'd started sooner. It's like, no, start now, because the reality is, like, if anything, if someone started now, their rate of progression would be greater than mine. If someone in their mid 40s or 50s started now,
actually, I can beat that. Do you ever remember my mum when she was recovering from breast cancer treatment? I ended up we read about exercise and the power of exercise, especially resistance training, and so I ended up doing kettlebell training with her. And we've got a video. If you actually look on YouTube and put in Muscle Mum Fitter London, you'll see her training.
Yeah, bloody hell.
And this is, I think she was definitely over 60. I can't remember exact time of her diagnosis. I'm sure she was 61, 62. But just look at her muscle. It's incredible. And that's just basically, she kind of gone onto a paleo diet, and she's strength training, and it's all at home, and it's just all using furniture or a few kettlebells, or we had those gliders that you put your feet on and squat thrusts and things, which she absolutely hated on the kitchen floor. But you can see the muscle in her. And I do remember seeing around that time, and she said that was the best she'd ever felt in terms of the most amount of resistance training she'd ever done. Now she's kind of, and she goes through phases like we all do. I dive out of it and I kind of just want to walk and then I'll get back into it. But I just recently had a 12-week break, and within a week I was back to 6 full press-ups, which I was really surprised at, because press-ups for me, they're my nemesis. They're really hard. But I was like, God, isn't that amazing? Like within a week. So I started on my knees and just kept building up. And I did a bit of grease in the groove, where you just do a few across the day, just on my knees, to make it so, well, safer, because obviously you can injure yourself if you're coming back from a rest, but also just non-intimidating. So I did a load of them, and then eventually was like, I think I got to 10 actually in the end. I'm sure I did 10 with you on my last, and then I got COVID. So
COVID. Hey.
But what I loved is, I was like, oh, that means you've got the baseline, you'll get back to it. So but yeah, I think you're right. I think it's actually what I know. And one thing that I do really enjoy, this is kind of, again, I think the point that you're making is, you can do very little and get awesome results. Like literally 10 press ups gave me DOMS, like delayed onset muscle soreness. So I was like, oh, I don't have to do a whole workout. It's 10 press ups.
Well, it is true though, right? Like, like once you have a spell away from exercise, you do have to kind of like ease yourself back in type thing. And newbie gains, as we call it, like, when you first start running, lifting weights, whatever, the progressions you see early on are amazing. It's like you're getting stronger and stronger every week. You're like, oh my God, like you can see your body changing like so quickly.
Yeah.
It's like, take advantage of that. But the reality is whether you're getting into it in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, if it's a new stimulus to your body's going to respond quickly early on.
Yeah. Otherwise you just plateau with that kind of, I think it's the same. Some people do like a 12-week program and then go off and do like tennis and running for a little while and Pilates or something, and then go back to like a 12-week. I mean, strength training is good to do like regularly, especially as you age. I think if you can get into that habit. But I think the other things, the other movement skills, it's just good to mix it up, keep it interesting, don't get bored. But like even for me, 10K becomes really easy to run eventually. I'm just like, it doesn't really do anything. I enjoy it mentally. And
you set a new baseline for yourself. And I think like that's the ultimate goal, is like, you're just constantly raising that baseline. So like you said, it's like, I had this chat with someone the other day, like, I'm into, I like me old kettlebells, and the kind of the standard weights, if you will, for kettlebells tends to be like 24 kg for men, 16 kg for women, doesn't it? Even though like Keris swings around much more than that, don't you?
When I'm consistent.
Yeah. But I had a chat with someone the other day where I was like, my goal was always to make the 32 kilo my 24.
So it's always
so like workouts where people are like, oh, the RX weight for this is 24, I wanted it to be like, well, I'll do 32, not because I've got an ego, but it's like I wanted that to be my baseline, so I could just throw a 32 kg around. And that's kind of where I'm at now. Like I'm very comfortable with 30 kg kettlebell, so I know I need to go higher than that for the progressions and whatnot. And the same goes for any movement. It's like, there were once weights that were, some of your max lifts, and they're now factored into your warm-up as you build to a bigger weight. Like that's the progress we're looking for, is kind of setting that really strong foundation and building from there. It's irrelevant really when you get into it, mainly because you can't go back in time, sadly. So whether you, like I say, just start now, forget this whole like, I wish I started sooner, that's hindsight. But everybody would benefit from exercising and lifting weights and building some muscle at any age. And I think that's the message here. Like, stop buying into this, oh, I'm past it now, or I'm older now, so I need to bloody, approach the gym like a decrepit old man. Like you're not. And
I don't know that people are doing that, but I was going to say, I'd like to.
People make these comments, Keris. Like I hear it a lot. It's like, and I get it, it's a bit of banter, it's a bit of a joke as well, but I think there is truth in jest sometimes. And people that are in there, like they're over 35 and like, oh, very much like, I'm an old man now. I can't keep up with the young bucks.
I hear my metabolism has slowed. I hear that a lot. And then and everyone's noticing the weight gain in their 30s. And then, like I said, the type of exercise they tend to increase is actually cardio, if anything. So running and cycling become like obvious options. or they start fasting. Everyone starts intermittent fasting. And what everyone's missing is it's really about the quality of the changes that you make. Yes, you might benefit from eating less. Yes, you benefit from moving more, but you could make your life so much easier if you did it in a very strategic, dare I say, like even evidence-based way. If you look at what the science is saying right now, it's like, I often say when I'm doing the menopause talks, so we haven't kind of compared men and women, but obviously with what happens to women is from anywhere between, like, it could be early, it could be late 30s, it could be early 40s, but definitely by the time you're getting to 50, you're going to start to approach perimenopause, menopause, and hormone levels change, but we get a sudden drop in estrogen eventually. And what estrogen does, it's a muscle antioxidant, it protects muscle, but it will kind of almost add, it has an additive effect to this sarcopenia, this muscle loss that's happening with age, because we might get insulin resistant, which now means that we're not regulating energy very well. So you're losing muscle, and it just makes it's setting the scene to gain weight quite easily. And that's what many women experience. And so the comments are generally like, my metabolism slows with age. I wouldn't argue that, but what I say to women when I'm talking about perimenopause and menopause is, it's like you've got a Hoover that you've had for about 30 years, and it's just not hoovering up that well anymore. That's kind of what's happening. You've got a hormone that's just not working like it should. And having muscle is like having cleaners in. You can basically ease back a bit and they'll do the work.
Maybe the bag, you just need a new bag.
The bag, well, this is the thing. I do take this analogy further where I say...
It's an old bag.
I take the analogy further where I say... not only does the Hoover not work very well, like it doesn't suck up very well, but if the bag is full, that means that you've already got too much body fat. So that makes the whole situation worse. And then what makes Hoovering even worse is if the house is getting messy frequently. Right. And that's if you're eating too much all the time and very sedentary. That's my analogy.
I like you're good at your analogies.
No, I'm not, but there you go. That'll do. It kind of makes sense to me because I Hoover a lot. I like cleaning,
it does.
I always come up with it when I'm cleaning normally, but I think once I had a Hoover and it wasn't Hoover, and I was like, this is so annoying. And then I was like, it wasn't the bag, it was actually the pipe was clogged. And that's when I was like, oh, it's like insulin resistance. Can't get stuff where it needs to be.
But something you said though, go on.
I was just going to say, and if that process is happening, it accelerates for women, but it does also happen to all of us with age, in terms of we're more likely to get that Hoover gets older and older. So insulin resistance is a risk factor with age. But again, what's amazing about muscle, I say they're the cleaners that come in and do the work for you, because muscle, if we have muscle, but more importantly, you've mentioned this functional muscle. So it's muscle that we're working. It's not just we've gone and got some gains and we're doing naffle about it, like as in we've just pumped ourselves full of food and pushed some weights. It has to be muscle that allows us to move and kind of have healthy functional movement. Then basically muscle's very selfish, and it draws energy from the bloodstream. It will use fat, it will use glucose to do what it needs to do, to contract and for energy sources. And this is why, and we see once we're controlling blood sugars with muscle, that's going to help you cognitively, because your brain is really demanding. We don't want too much energy in the bloodstream. It can be toxic for the body, and it has a really negative effect on our brain. And we know that this is a factor in Alzheimer's, dementia, but just generally in terms of, if just thinking about body composition and energy regulation, this is the first step, is like, you want to get the heavy lifters in, and that is, you want to build muscle. And it is hard. As I said, we've got sarcopenia, we're losing muscle fast, and we can't build it.
We're not losing it fast.
Oh, no, we're not. Sorry.
Behave yourself.
We lose it. I'd say as you age, you're losing it quicker. And we struggle to build it. We've got anabolic resistance. So this is where you do have to be careful about doing stuff like excess cardio and fasting, because they are both catabolic. So they are breaking down kind of lean tissue or different tissues. They'll break down fat, they'll break down lean tissue in excess. And what we really want to do, there's some fasting studies that have been done by the universities that are really interesting, where they compared a calorie deficit to fasting. And what they saw with the fasting group is that basically they lost 50% muscle, 50% fat, whereas the calorie deficit group just lost body fat.
Right.
And what they said as a takeaway was not that you shouldn't fast, but if you were going to fast, you should definitely resistance train. You should definitely meet your protein needs, just to protect muscle as much as possible.
Yeah. And something we've mentioned before as well is like, if the stimulus from your training is there, if the progressive overload is there.
That's what I was going to say. Should we start to list factors that would keep muscle in your life?
Yeah, because like what I was going to say was is like you
Mm.
can still build muscle in an energy deficit.
Yeah.
And again, this is like, the kind of old school way of thinking is, oh, to lose weight, you're in a deficit. To gain weight, i.e. muscle, you need to be in a surplus. Granted, having a surplus will help, but having a surplus can also lead to weight gain of other kinds, i.e. body fat as well. So
I like to talk about body recompositioning with my clients, where I say it's a more positive way of looking at it, but you are converting fat to muscle. Essentially, we want to get the fat, the ratio down. Sorry, not converting, not converting.
I was waiting for you to correct yourself. I was eyeballing that.
Yeah, sorry, we want the ratio better of fat to muscle. So we want to focus on building muscle, which is also a very positive thing to do. And a lot of the habits that you're going to put in place are going to be beneficial from a disease risk perspective and bone health, and muscle and bone crosstalk. So we always want to be, if we have strong muscles, we have strong ligaments and tendons that hold our bones in place. So again, if you've got osteopenia, osteoporosis, what's interesting, by the way, on that is it's quite prevalent in men, and men that drink excessive amounts of coffee and smoke is a risk factor for osteoporosis in men.
Right.
It's never something that is talked about for men. It's a risk factor for women, obviously, because of the drop in estrogen at menopause. But again, I think what'd be nice to go through now is kind of like some of the key things that we need to build muscle. So if I give some from a nutrition perspective and you give some from a training perspective.
For sure.
The first thing I would kind of highlight is there's something called muscle protein synthesis, which is basically the process of building muscle. And one of the things that happens is, I mentioned before, if you fast, and everyone's quite into intermittent fasting, and I see loads of clients fasting now through till lunchtime, is you're going into that catabolic state of breaking stuff down, and there could be a risk of muscle loss. So what you want to do is, as soon as you have that first meal, you want to kickstart muscle protein synthesis, which is you stop the fast and you start the building process again. And that is with a high protein meal, and specifically leucine rich. So if you have things like eggs, whey protein, chicken, turkey, cottage cheese, you could even just supplement with leucine if you hated all those things. Put a scoop of it. If you're plant-based, I would definitely start to look up how could you get more leucine in, and it may be a case of just supplementation in your plant-based smoothie or whatever breakfast that you have. And ideally, that first meal, you want it to have that high amount of leucine so muscle protein synthesis is like a key going into the ignition, starts the whole process. And then from there, what you'd want to do is calculate your protein requirements for the day and just divide it. If you only want to do 2 meals, fine. But you might want to do 2 meals and a snack, or 3 meals, and divide your protein requirements for the day into those meals. And usually, I think everybody needs something like at least 1.2 grams per kilo of body weight. At least.
Minimum.
Most people we work with, we suggest 1.5 grams of protein per kilo of body weight. If you are significantly overweight, I'd bring that more towards your ideal weight. And if maths isn't your strong point, eat as much protein as you possibly can, and definitely have a palm size or just a slab of protein at each meal. And when you want a snack, make it protein based.
I mean, that's a really good shout. I think, like, especially if you're someone who's because reality is like some people struggle to take on protein, whereas like we can eat it no problem, like, easy money. But for some people, like having like protein at every meal in itself is a bit of a challenge. So that could just be a really good starting point, is like, just make sure you have protein at every single meal. You know what I mean? Like, whether it is just a little bit, just getting into that habit and then building up from there. I mean, I've got some people now who are like closer to like 1.8, sometimes even like 2 grams per kilo of body weight.
And that's men and women. Men and women.
That's tends to be men that I go that a little bit higher with. I think, like, not stereotype, but men tend to find it a bit easier to consume that amount of protein. But yeah, some women do go higher, like 1.5, 1.6. It's quite a good target if they can handle it.
I'd honestly say, I think we may have mentioned this on a previous podcast, sorry if we have, but I think I told you a friend was doing a course on personality types and nutrition, and said empaths and overthinkers and highly sensitive people need more protein because the amount of thinking that they're doing. So for me, as soon as I increased protein, it made me feel more stable. I think it was just, and blood sugar. That would, when I had this conversation with with that individual, I said, I think that's more probably related to blood sugars, but a lot of the chemicals in the body are made from protein. So I think just as soon as we start increasing our protein in our diet, we can just feel multiple benefits. And skin, hair, and nails is another one. I see so many people buying supplements for skin, hair, and nails, and I never had nails until I ate proper protein requirements, until I met my protein requirements. And then my nails grow now, don't they?
Yeah.
Even you commented and said, like, look at your nails, they finally grow.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I think I've said this before, like my nails are growing like mad. I don't know if I'm just,
as well.
Is that the sun?
Well, yeah, but and you eat you must be on, how much do you reckon protein?
Oh, about 5 grams per kilo. No, I'm joking. I don't know.
This is why I'm always tired.
Substantial though. It's
Do you know
definitely
how much
substantial,
work it is cooking for
Sorry,
this protein eating machine?
but I am amazing.
Yeah, you are.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have it so much worse than just having to cook a lot of protein.
I remember my mum saying the first time you came, well, the first week you stayed here actually with them, and at one point mum was like, I mean, it's lovely to see his appetite, but it ain't half wearing. I was like,
My
I had that this week where I was like, have you eaten all that already? Oh, bloody hell.
Yeah, it's funny, like, you know, when people talk about like hyperpalatable foods or like, oh, that's really Moorish, like I'm like that with protein. I could just almost just keep going back for protein.
Yeah.
Which I suppose isn't a terrible thing, but it's funny, like my mum reminded me today something my granddad used to say, which he used to go like, sooner keep you a week than a fortnight.
Oh really?
Yeah, just because of how much food I would eat. But yeah, yeah, I think like,
okay, so training then. So I've done the first nutrition one.
yes,
you mentioned the muscle protein synthesis.
Yes.
No, sorry, the sorry.
Progressive overload.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so essentially progressive overload is obviously providing this stimulus of like overload to the muscle that you're working. And that has absolutely nothing to do with specific weights as such. You know, like a lot of people will often say, oh, you know, what weight do you recommend for this movement? It's like, well, whatever takes you close to failure between this rep range. You know what I mean? I can't choose the weight for you. It's like, as long as the stimulus is there, it's like your 100% and my 100% will be different.
Can you do 10 press-ups?
Yeah. on my little fingers.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, it's 100%, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that's all that matters. Like, and I think as long as you're continuing to provide progressive overload in the form of greater load, you know, so more intensity, greater volume, i.e., like increase your repetitions at a certain weight, and you know you're not afraid to take exercises close to failure.
I think you have to make a noise on that last rep, and then you come close to failure.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
some kind of groan, or
I'm just like, whatever.
Roar.
Just let the noises flow.
No, but if you come close to that, then you're getting close to failure,
Yeah,
aren't you?
you
need to make a noise.
All sorts of noises come out. I mean, some of the noises I make on our real-time workouts, so like, it's just I've no control over them. They're organic noises that just come out. But I think that's the big thing, is like, providing the stimulus of progressive overload. But this is the big bit, this next bit, consistently, you know, not just like here and there, sporadic, and consistency is going to be the biggest thing of all. If you can find that routine that you can commit to each week, and you are continuing to provide progressive overload, as I say, where you can, like, that in itself is going to make a huge difference. And the reason I say where you can is because the reality is, once you are over that newbie gain period where you're just making gains left, right, and center, it gets more difficult to make progress. It gets more difficult to build muscle, to build strength, etc. And that's when you need to be really happy with the marginal gains. An extra rep here and there, an extra kilo or so here and there, especially on your bigger lifts and whatnot. You know, those days of like the big jumps in weight just aren't there.
Yeah.
And that said, like, you know, some weeks as well, what you can lift and how a workout feels can be completely different to the following week. And then that ties in with nutrition, sleep, you know, other recovery strategies. Yeah, fair enough. You might not be firing on all cylinders every week. However, if you're finding each week is a grind, each week just feels like you're not really getting anywhere, chances are it's not your training. It's probably some other stuff going on. And in fact, I had a really good convo the other day around program design, because my programming for myself and for that of my clients is for the best part, I'd probably say for 90% of it, it's the same, because it's just based on movements that work. You know, movements that tick all the boxes for a full body approach: squat variations, hip hinge variations, upper pushes, upper pulls, you know, and then some isolation work thrown into the mix.
But what I like is you have to personalize it. I hear you debating burpees with your clients sometimes on the phone, and you're going, I know, but we're going to have to put, you don't, not necessarily burpees, but like a split squat or something. Someone will ask you for some kind of result, and you're like, you're going to have to do something that you don't like to get that result.
But also that a lot of that comes down to, that's like mental toughness.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, I'm not having you cherry pick what exercises you do and don't do. Thank you very much. Like, there are some, it's just good to do some stuff that sucks, because it just makes you anti-fragile. That's the term, isn't it? Anti-fragility.
And often, what is it as well? Like, sometimes we don't want to do the one that probably is going to serve us the most. Do you know what I mean? Like, for a lot of people who've got issues with their hips and stuff, you'll often say like split squats, back squat, you know, like whatever you would recommend. And then I always say, is it Cuban planks? Have I got that right?
Copenhagen planks.
Never get that right. Yeah. I have a Cuban plank.
Yeah.
Do a little hip shuffle.
Yeah.
And people just don't want to do them. And it's the one that serves you the most often, isn't it?
Oh, honestly, like, you know, there's so many exercises out there that like a lot of people should be doing, and I think it comes in time when you can start to get your head around it. But
I need to strengthen my glutes so much, and I hate glute bridges. Why is that?
I think some movements are, I think it's a combination of, some movements are just really bloody hard and they hurt like hell. Bulgarian split squats is a great example, but equally that's why I love them.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like that mental thing for me. It's like who's that guy doing Bulgarian split squats all the time?
Yeah.
Plus, look, I'm not here to brag, but I get a lot of compliments on my tush.
Yeah, you do.
And I owe it all to
split squats.
Bulgarian split squats. Not all, big part.
We had a funny conversation the other day, didn't we, about where does the country label come from each exercise? Bulgarian split squats, Copenhagen plank. What was the other one?
Chinese press, Russian swing.
And then I said Chinese burn.
Yeah,
technically a gym exercise, but it works the wrists.
Yeah. Do you remember Chinese burns at school?
Brothers used to.
They were horrible, weren't they?
God,
they used to really hurt. If you got someone got you good and proper, bloody hell.
As you've been looking up all the origins of sayings, you should probably start looking up the origins of that.
What, like Chinese burn?
Yeah, you keep looking up sayings like from the horse's mouth and telling.
Oh yeah,
okay,
no, I
started
following this page on TikTok. It's amazing, and it tells you all where these old sayings came from. And the one that Keris is referring to, like, I want to, you know, when people say I want to hear it straight from the horse's mouth, it's like that expression comes from back in the day. Can't remember when, can't remember where, but it was when people used to like buy horses, and apparently
you remembered
the most
detail.
But that's irrelevant.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. When it came to finding out like the true health and the age and things like that of a horse, apparently the mouth said everything. Like the health of the teeth and the gums would be able to give someone like a real true indication of the health of the quality of that horse. So that's where the saying came from. I want to hear it from the horse's mouth, because that's essentially saying the most kind of trusted, reliable source is straight from the horse's mouth, rather than what someone has told you. Oh, you know, this horse is blah blah blah. You know, like a fantastic specimen of a stallion. Like, it's like, well, I want to hear it from the horse's mouth. So there you go.
Do. On our evening dog walk, you go.
I'll go, did you know? And then I just reel off something random. But what was I saying?
We were talking about Japanese burns at school.
Yeah, so no, so like with the exercises, that there needs to be. I like it to be like. I know you were talking about like exercises you don't like.
Yeah.
I was gonna say there are some that are just really hard and they hurt, and that's why people are a bit like, I don't really want to do this because it's uncomfortable. But that is the whole idea. But there are other exercises I think that are just quite boring, and I think like hip thrusts and glute bridges or whatever.
Yeah, boring.
They're just a bit dull, you know. Like, whereas
set up and get your barbell and find the.
But yeah, it's
bench
just
in the gym. That's what did my head.
Everyone's got their jam. Everyone's got their thing. But the main thing is, as long as all the muscles get a C into each week, as long as progressive overload is present, and as long as it's backed up by half decent nutrition, i.e. hitting your protein target, and of course, you know, don't neglect your sleep. Like, good things can happen.
Yeah.
And I know I'm making it sound like it's
Can I add
really...
one other thing to this as well, though. So
Got
the
it.
other thing that we've noticed is it's just like general physical activity. So because of working from home and lockdown, I think people's general physical activity level, which is more like walking, pottering, moving around the house, is just declined rapidly, hasn't it? And I think that is a big factor. Some people say sitting is the new smoking. I don't think that helps anyone if you are really tied to your desk for a job. But what I've said to a lot of people is there's definitely so much we can be doing in terms of like movement snacks, movement breaks, get a dog. Like I think for us, we're focusing quite a lot on keeping clients accountable to, like you've just said, protein, an appropriate eating window, food quality, good training. And it only needs to be with some clients twice a week, doesn't it? And walking more. And that's a lot to get into. But once you're in a groove, and it takes a bit of time finding out what that looks like for individuals. But then I think most of that is kind of setting the scene for, you know, it's just a really good foundation for aging. And as we said, if you are looking to kind of keep that muscle, you know, even standing more, doing more chores around the house. Like I've really prided myself recently on, as I've taken this break from training, I've looked for reasons to move. And I've climbed the stairs from the beach like 2 at a time. And Hamish recently had surgery. I don't even mention that. And lifting him in and out the car, you know, like he was like 24 kilos. And so I was like trying to lift properly and things like that. And I was like, there's a lot of, you call it farm boy strength, don't you? But there's a lot that you can do. And we recently had a garage here cleared out, and you were busy, and it all needed to go to the tip. And there was some really heavy stuff. There was an old row machine. It was like mum and dad had years ago. And I was like, do you know what? I'm gonna load the car myself.
This is no exaggeration, right? I swear down that rowing machine weighed about 40 kg.
I'm glad you said that, because I was lifting it and I was like, I'm not going to go and ask him for help. I wasn't going to injure myself.
Because I think of like modern day rowers, like a Concept 2 rower. You pick them up, they're pretty light. So this, don't get me wrong, I could, it looked like it was something from like the 1970s, but nonetheless, like it was still relatively compact. And I just kind of went to pick it up, like just quite casually, and I was like, oh blimey, I've actually got a kind of like brace and to lift this up, and it was all weighted at one end, so it was really awkward. And I was like, what the hell is in that?
Falling apart. But I started to. We'd said, oh, we need to clear the garage, take it all to the tip, load it into the car. And I was like, do you know what? I'm going to do all this, and I'm going to lift it all myself. And I've been doing the same with gardening and barrowing like stuff around the garden. And I did it. And I remember thinking, I'm not going to, when I got to the row machine, I was like, why me? But I was like, no, I'm not going to ask you for help. I'm going to do this. And I managed to, and I managed to lift it all into the car. And I thought you'd come in and start trying to rearrange it all, as you always do, because a woman cannot pack a car. And no, I can't pack a car.
No, you can't. To be fair,
but I did it.
That is true, right?
Yeah, but I did it.
Forget the fact you're a woman.
I did it.
You did do it.
Yeah. And I can pack a car. I just don't pack it safely. There's not a single mirror that can be seen once I've packed the car.
I played a lot of Tetris when I was younger.
So
fitting things in, and in a nice compact way.
That's our rule now, is I just take everything to the car and you pack the car, don't you? But I was really proud of myself, because I was like, I've loaded it all in, got to the tip, and again, the main thing is safely. So I was lifting everything safely and like took it all out again. But honestly, by the end of that day, and same thing we've been digging out beds here and lifting plant pots and stuff. I love it. And it's like it passes so quickly.
Physicality.
And you feel like this amazing exhaustion at the end of the day. You sit down with your dinner and go like, look at what I've done, cleared the garden, or
I did this.
And it's stuff
with me bare hands.
It's like when we were painting. I just enjoy painting when we do it.
I need to add something to this story, right? This is hilarious, because it's very hot here in Portugal, as you know. And when Keris is gardening, she often does it topless to my delight. It's quite distracting, but it's a welcome distraction. Anyway, on this day,
you burn otherwise.
You do. She's got all of this stuff into the car, which I was very impressed with. And she's brought the car around to the other side, and she's gone, right, I'm off to the tip. And she's got her handbag strapped over and everything, still minus her top. And I was like, oh, are you now? She's like, yeah, I won't be long. I was like, cool, thinking she's going to click in a minute. And then I was like, cool, I'll see you in a sec then. But is that how you're going? She was like, oh, I didn't even realise.
I said to you, I'm going to the tip.
Going to the tip. But yeah, and then she
I did put a top on.
she put a top on, thankfully.
Yeah.
You know,
My mum used to do that though, all the time. All jobs, topless.
get them out.
Yeah.
No tan lines.
Debt washing
Gosh.
topless.
To be fair, this is the beauty of where we're living. Is like, yeah, there's no one.
No, a lot of people just wander around naked all the time here, don't they, on
Yeah.
the beaches? Which, yeah, it's quite freeing.
Yeah,
I do worry when Hamish is
I'll save it for the
when they're bending over and Hamish is pottering past, and I'm like, I hope it doesn't think that's something else. But there we go.
Oh God. Keris Marsden. But
Anyway,
just to backtrack real quick, bring it back to training. So when I was chatting the other day about program design, it was with one of my clients, my coaching clients, who, we've just been going through, like, we're on our third training block now. And the reason I say that is because, like, whilst too much variety is definitely going to hinder your progress, especially if you're someone who's been training for a while, like, you need that element of repetition. We do change things up a little bit, like, and I do it in 4-week training blocks, just because I find that's when people are kind of like welcome a slightly different stimulus, or maybe a variation of a movement pattern, etc., etc. And what was really good with this conversation was, not only is this guy, like, he's got stronger all round, he's building muscle, like, he's seeing his body change shape, but the conversation started when he said, like, oh, I've got to admit, when we first started training, it felt almost too repetitive. And I was a bit like, oh, I'm used to a bit more variety here and just shaking things up on a regular basis. And he said, but I was like, no, like, it's Matt. I know Matt. I trust Matt. I like his approach. And he said, but once I could start to see and feel the change and the numbers each week, the progressions, he was like, all of a sudden I embraced the repetition to the point where he said, I was actually disappointed when you changed the program. But then
like
again,
benchmarking it.
yeah, but then it repeated, and he was like, it continued again. And then we kind of went back into the third block that was almost a bit similar to the first block with some changes. And all of a sudden, like, squat was 10 kg heavier, and it's like, when you start seeing that result for the work you're putting in, you're like, that's why the repetition's there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
and I think that's we've talked about this before and said the problem with this is it's a lot of delayed gratification, and actually, so mad that I'm going to do this, but Sex and the City, I think Christian Davis, the dark haired one, because I've usually got it on in the background, is in Just Like That.
Sharon, the main character.
Yeah.
What's her name in the show?
I don't know. I knew you could ask me that, and I've just had an absolute brain fart, and I can't remember. Miranda, Samantha, Carrie. Why can't I remember it?
Yeah. Well, anyway, what's the?
Yeah. Anyway, everyone will be shouting it out now. There was an interview with her on an American chat show, and it just came down my feed on Instagram. It was really interesting because it was about aging, and I just clicked on it because she was saying that the hard thing for them is, obviously, when they've done the new series of Just Like That, there's tons of whole Instagram feeds are going out of them when they first did Sex and the City, and then it went on Netflix for a while and stuff as well. And she's like, do you know what it's like to constantly have your 35-year-old self just like all over the internet and in magazines and everything? And I just thought that must be so hard, because as we age, one thing that we've got to accept, and this is what she talked about, you have to have this level of acceptance of, I'm aging. It's not that you have to change anything. You can go and do all the stuff you want to do, rock climbing, salsa dancing, a new course, learn a language, travel. But from a kind of physical appearance perspective, there has to be that kind of acceptance that you are aging, and don't strive to do all this stuff to lose weight and be a certain size and look a certain way and still use your physical appearance as the defining factor about you, because I think there can be some sadness there, because it's inevitable that I still think, take pride in your appearance, but it's like me looking at my 20-year-old self wishing I had those things. We're not going to have those things. So I think the hard thing about aging is you can almost, it's not even that there's delayed gratification. Some people start to think there's no gratification because it's downhill from here. You know what I mean? But from the training perspective, definitely there's that. The hard bit is motivating yourself and switching your focus from what we used to do, like all the eating right and exercising used to be about looking a certain way, didn't it? To be attractive maybe, or to have a certain physical appearance. And I think that's not there anymore. And I think some people just give up on it
Mm.
altogether and are like, I'm aging, what's the point? I don't need to attract anyone anymore, what's the point?
No.
But the point is, it's about how you feel and your energy
Yes.
and your longevity and your health span. And we talked about this yesterday, your independence as you age. Like, we've spoken
Preach,
to our
sister.
parents a lot about this. Like, you do not want to lose the ability to move and get off a chair, which is a real marker of aging. Like, can you put your hands down and get off the sofa? I mean, sorry, can you get off the sofa without using your hands and stuff? And can you even use your hands to get off the sofa? In fact, your mom talked about injuring her arm and saying, I couldn't get out of the bath when she injured her arm.
No, she had
a jab.
It was a jab for whatever it was for, but shingles.
I was gonna say, yeah. And she said, I couldn't get out of the bath because of my arm. And it's, we want to keep the ability to do those things as we age. So we need to be looking after our bodies and resourcing it with good nutrition and exercise and challenging it constantly, so it keeps hold of those skills. But I just thought it was kind of interesting when you're doing the training side that it is about switching focus, because there's no end in sight. It's not like we're doing a 12-week transformation plan and at the end we get this result and then we get our photos taken, and then it's like, you know, it's really important that we think about longevity with these things. And I think one of the things I discussed with a client this week was the initial bit's really hard because it's so hard to motivate yourself. I think when we're younger, we'll use a holiday, a wedding, being single, like we'll just choose these things and go, I'm going to use this as a driver to get my shit together. And then as you age, they're not that important anymore. And it's quite sad. I've watched a few programs where menopausal women have talked about feeling invisible because no one's looking at you in the room anymore. So again, they're like, what's the point in trying to eat well and exercise and do all those things? I might as well just have everything. And they should never be the driver in the first place. But I think when you're first trying to get started, I suggested to this client that you look at putting a calendar somewhere that you see every single day, like your desk, your fridge, wherever it might be, and pick just a couple of the principles we've talked about, like, you know, protein target, resistance training, or a step count's a good one, you know, like I want to 10,000 steps a day count. And then you basically tick on that calendar every day that you hit. Pick 3, you know, like hydration might be one as well. And you just tick when you've hit them, tick each day. And if you get a bonus, it could be like she mentioned, I've got some stickers, and, you know, if you got a bonus, you could put a sticker on it, and you'll love seeing that. That will be the gratification that you get initially of not wanting to break the streak of ticks. You know, it's like gamification of health and habits. But use strategies like that, or use accountability of working with a coach, you know, like for a couple of weeks to get your groove, to feel comfortable. Otherwise, and I have a coach and you have a coach for this reason, old self wants to kick in, you know, like it's hard, you're not feeling the benefit. It's like, oh, do I have to? I want to go back to my comfort zone.
Yeah.
And this is where I think coaching is most valuable now. So when you're having that holiday, that wobble, that bucket moment, and you've just eaten all the food, someone comes in and says, you're only one meal away from being healthy, like stay with it. Like, you know, you're only one gym session, you know, it doesn't matter what you just did, just forget it, let it go, breathe, let's go. And I think that's really powerful when we're thinking about mindset changes around our healthy habits. Stay on track.
100%. I think, like, you know, we talk about like delayed gratification a lot, don't we? And I think like sometimes it's almost like getting your head around like things that you could change now that will probably lead to quite a quick return. Things that you could change now that are probably it's gonna take a bit of time to see that return. Whether that's like, you know, like weight loss or building muscle, gaining strength, hitting a certain performance target. But I almost like to try and look at it as like, you know, like with work, your career, you know, like no one goes into a new role and is like, right, I'm coming in now at the ground level. Next month I'll be a team manager. The month after that I'll be
we don't have the same expectations, do we?
No, it's like, you know, we know that stuff takes years to climb the ladder if we want to. Some people don't want to climb the ladder. They're just happy kind of like just doing their thing and getting a little pay rise as and when they can get it. But generally speaking, like no one has that expectation. And like you said earlier, I think like when we train, when we exercise, I think when you can start approaching it in a much more positive way, you know, and I'm not saying don't have an aesthetic goal, like bloody hell, like I started training because I had an aesthetic goal.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
had absolutely fuck all to do with like, oh, I want to be a really fit old man. Like I was like, I want to be jacked. I want a six pack. You know what I mean? Like there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And it really winds me up when people almost want to take people away from that. But you need to approach it in a way that is positive for the best part.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, and it is because
But it's
you
also a best version of you, like
yeah.
not looking at other people and thinking, I want to look like that, or I want to look, I'm so grateful for Davina McCall having a really positive effect on menopause. But so many women mentioned to me, like, if I do this, will I get abs like Davina? And it's like, you don't want abs like Davina. You just want your
Yeah.
body to look the best it could look. Like some people never have ab definition, and that's like, do you know what I mean? That's what I think.
Exactly.
Everyone knows how good they could look. And I think it's a nice visualization to do on you. I often do it when I've been doing visualizations around health. So when I got really sick last week, I was kind of visualizing like being out with you in my favorite outfit and just walking and feeling good and healthy and other stuff. So we've got a little dog coming in. And yeah, and I think you should do that when you're kind of thinking about your health and eating well. It really helps to do that in the morning. You might want to do like 5 minutes visualizing, how fit you're going to be, what you're going to look like, what you're going to wear, what you're going to do, and, feeling confident. I think that could be a really nice visualization that would just consolidate your choice of breakfast. So when it came to breakfast, or when you had a wobble that day and are like, oh, I just want to face plant into a massive bag of M&Ms, you'd be like, no, I had that nice visualization of me feeling really good.
Yeah.
And it'll help keep you on track.
Yeah.
So I think and one final thing I was going to say on the aging side of things is also, I think one thing people don't think about doing, which is really helpful, is just having like health MOT blood tests along with what we've said. And I often encourage my clients to do it, because you think about, this is where I keep spotting stuff like low vitamin D, low iron, and we just don't test for it on health services. It's just not done. We don't do preventative medicine. In fact, some people say it's sick care, it's not healthcare. And ideally, if it changes, I hope one day there'll be more preventative stuff in place and you'll be offered an MOT. They do these Q risk assessments, but if I'm honest, I think they're not bad, but they're not great, which is where you go and have your cholesterol looked at, blood pressure. It's just one aspect of health. But if you're wandering around with low iron, you're going to feel like crap, and your hair's going to fall out and your nails don't grow. And it's really hard to make good nutrition choices and get yourself to the gym without sufficient iron.
Yeah.
But same vitamin D, I've seen people think they've got depression, and no one tests that when you go to the doctors. And I've seen vitamin D's at really low levels, like dire. And there's a lot, it's obvious why. Everyone's indoors, and in the UK there's not even been the sun. So I think an MOT is a really good shout as well. And you can check in on the hormones. You could even kind of preempt. I often suggest around, if you're suspecting perimenopause, menopause, I often guide clients through, like, there's a few things that might appear on a test that would suggest this, but most of it has to be done with symptom assessment as well. But there's some key helpful stuff that you could look at. Same for diabetes risk, and that would alter your nutritional needs. So we do it with our car, we do it with everything. Do you know what I mean? We check. And we're so logical, and our bodies, it's kind of anything goes.
That's the thing, isn't it? It's like you said, like car's a great example. Like if you know your car, if you drive your car on a regular, you'll be like, something doesn't sound right. Something doesn't feel right. Like I need to get that checked out.
Yeah.
Yet our bodies are giving us signs all the time that it's not happy, whether it's like quite consistent low energy levels, like low mood, things like that. There's often stuff going on that could well be like nutrition related, movement related. I'm not saying it's the answer to everything.
And also I would say some of these things are so easily fixed. So some of them are easy fixes in terms of, I've had women come in, and when we've got iron levels optimal, they've wanted to do the exercise. They've wanted to do the nutrition. When I was sick last week, I remember thinking, I can't face anything, like literally could not. And it was just so fatiguing that I was like, I can't even string a sentence together. I can't face the world. I can't even think about opening a laptop. And that's like when my body's, just weakened. And this is what happens with a lot of these kind of nutritional deficiencies, with insulin resistance, with diabetes, being pre-diabetic could feel like this, with low hormone status. And no wonder you don't want to do those things. And I remember thinking, I may never exercise again. Or when I was like, I think I'm going to retire if I'm exercise. And it's so nice. I knew I was getting better when I woke up and went, I want to go for a walk. I really want to go for a walk. That's my game changer habit that leads to all my good habits. But I think that don't fear the test, because some people fear like some people have approached me and said, I've put off seeing you for ages because I know you're going to ask me to give up XYZ. And I've said, I won't ask you to give up anything.
No.
If it seems so unrealistic right now, I will build you up, and then we'll see if you need to give it up. And maybe you don't. And I've really changed my stance on that, because when I first trained, you're taught a lot of stuff about gluten, dairy, alcohol, everything, and every food's got something in it that we could fear and make someone sick. Whereas now, I think actually my main role as a nutritional therapist is resource that body with everything it needs.
Yeah.
And then work with that individual and their mindset around things to make sure that they actually love the food they eat. It nourishes them, and they enjoy their exercise, they enjoy their lifestyle, and they take so much pressure off themselves. And that's become a real kind of enjoyable way of working with people, and many with a lot of them, I'll sit, I drive you mad, because you'll be like, what are you doing? I'm going to find a keto condiment for this client that they're going to like, even your mom, I was desperate to try and find like things that would make her eat healthier. And like, if I could just find some things that, she likes that make her eat a bit healthier, then.
But I think like
I'm determined.
You are, but that's amazing. Like, because I think sometimes like, people need to realize there is an alternative that can still like tick the box.
Still enjoy the food.
But like, just something I want to end with actually is like, this is something that I think is really important, is like, and this is something that like we've shared before, and it's like, it's not about not being able to eat what you want and have what you want, but there's something to be said for changing the things that it is that you want to have.
Yeah.
And that a big part of that comes down to having like a bit of an eye-opening experience of going, bloody hell, I feel really good when I don't have these things and I have these things instead. And I like that feeling. Because someone messaged me on Instagram the other day, because I was like, like every now and again I share my food and this, that, and the other. And someone was like, oh, I noticed you don't really eat much bread and stuff like that. And I went back and I said, well, no, I do eat bread, but I don't eat it that often. Not because I've got nothing against bread and I'm perfectly okay with people eating bread, but I just don't feel that good if I have a lot of bread. I don't feel that good if I have a lot of cake and sugary foods. I love them, I enjoy them, but I enjoy feeling good more. And even today, like I've been a bit flexible, should you say, whilst my mum was here. And there has been more bread than normal. There's been more ice cream than normal. And it's great. I really enjoy it. However, I feel quite bloated, quite lethargic.
You go like
my rash flares up.
No, I was about to say you have like by about the third day, you often come to me and say,
I'm over it now.
I'm over it. And I think a lot of people are starting to feel like that. But then I'd also say it is getting excessive, and your mum mentioned this as well, in terms of the size of cakes and the sugar in cakes. And so it doesn't take much before you can start to feel like crashing and like feel over it. So same for alcohol's very cheap out here. Not that you drink a lot of alcohol, but I think a lot of people go mad when they get out here and then start to go, I think I need to not drink.
Oh, that's it. Like, but again, it's like, have those things by all means, but
in moderation.
Find your sweet spot with it. And that's where I'm at. Like I'm very good at going, this is actually working against me now. And this has got naff all to do with aesthetics, body comp. It's how I feel. It's a feeling. It's a feeling that I don't like, because the knock-on effects are, it affects my training, it affects my productivity with work, all of these things that I value. And I think that's what it's all about. It's just kind of like finding that sweet spot. And in fact, what we could potentially talk about, if you're up for it, Keris, it'd be really awkward if you say no now. Because I've got this like goal for the Porto Marathon in November.
Yeah.
And I want to do it with running some like hybrid strength goals alongside it. So I've got some strength goals as well as like a time on my marathon of sub 3 hours 30, which, it's not rapid, but it's pretty quick for me.
Yeah.
And we had this chat about like fueling for it, because I did get a bit carried away at first, wasn't I? I was like smashing carbs left, right, and center, because my training just went up a gear all of a sudden. But again, I didn't feel that great for it. So now we're looking at kind of like finding ways to like boost my carb intake, hit my calorie requirements, etc., without feeling bloated all the time and farting like an absolute trooper.
Me and the dogs suffer.
Yeah, it's been.
I say dogs because we're looking after a dog at the moment.
It's been strong. Yeah. It's been strong.
What was your point? You said up for it. What am I doing?
No, we'll talk about it. Like
Oh,
talk about
okay.
like, you
Oh,
know,
yeah, sorry.
like
I thought
fueling for such
I
things.
thought I was back in the kitchen.
Yeah, get cooking.
Get cracking.
Um, but good chat, Keris.
Yeah.
Pleasure talking to you as always. And just to add before we go, I think you're absolutely gorgeous in your 40s.
Oh,
If anything, I think you're hotter now than you were when I first laid eyes on you.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. You too.
Oh, thanks, babes. I wasn't fishing then. I wasn't fishing, but I appreciate it.
I'm leaning back so you can't see the crow's feet.
I love it. Well, I hope you enjoyed that, folks. As always, any questions whatsoever, just give us a shout. Hit us up on social media or info@fitterfood.com. And we'll see you in episode 194.
Bye bye.
See ya.